Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a super special extravaganza. And there came a day like no other when Earth's mightiest heroes had to combine together to form the genre Lost Guys.
Planet. Oh, Lost Guys. Yeah, not Captain Planet. Sorry.
Welcome, everybody. We are so excited to have you here. We are going to be discussing a movie which could be described as a tour de force, a seminal production, perhaps the quintessential 2000s movie. You guys might all be aware of what I'm talking about already, given my rather funny avatar. However, we are going to be looking into Battlefield Earth. Yes, that's right. The Battlefield Earth. This fantastic film, this fantastic to watch film will be the subject of the first ever crossover between the genre guys and the Lost Guys. So I'm really excited about this. And we've even been able to wrangle Pro into this too.
Yes, Pro's here briefly, but Hangry, you called this a tour de force. According to those who have watched it that were talking about this before we got into the video, they're calling it a tour de farce. I'm not sure you're exactly right on this. Some of these guys look a little seasick. What's going on?
That was just my accent coming through. Apologies.
Oh, sorry.
So we have here with us today Lou Wasserman's Ghost, Martin Stone, Nolan Thunder, Lorn, and Pro will be joining us for a little bit. But we are going to be talking about this movie, Battlefield Earth, which was a film that, gosh, where do you even begin with this? So right off the bat, I'm going to ask everybody, the assembled panel, you guys still alive? You're still doing okay? You hanging in there?
I'm not sure yet.
There's a pulse. I think I'm breathing.
Lauren, are you still on mute?
I'm not commenting yet. I'm just going to wait and see how this goes.
I happen to believe that a bigger expert than we mere mortals should comment on this first.
Oh.
And I happen to have here Roger Ebert, the late, great Roger Ebert, his review of this movie. And may I quote from the Ebert scripture of motion picture criticism?
I suspect it's not glowing. Continue.
Battlefield Earth is like taking a bus trip with someone who has needed a bath for a long time. It's not merely bad, it's unpleasant in a hostile way. The visuals are grubby and drab. The characters are unkempt and have rotten teeth. Breathing tubes hang from their noses like ropes of snot. The soundtrack sounds like the boom mic is being slammed against the inside of a 55-gallon drum. The plot, but let me catch my breath. This movie is so awful in so many different ways. Even the opening titles are cheesy sci-fi epics. Sci-fi epics usually begin with a stab at impressive titles, but this one just displays green letters on a screen and type fonts that came with my Macintosh. Then the movie's subtitle unscrolls from left to right with the kind of, quote, effect you see in home movies. And then, of course, he goes into, well, you always want us to do the plot first. Would this be a good time to do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Let our Ebert speak for us.
All right.
It is the year 3000. The race of psychos, as opposed to the psychos who made the movie, has conquered the Earth. Humans survive in scattered bands, living like actors auditioning for the sequel to Quest for Fire. Soon they leave the wilderness and prowl through the ruins of theme parks in the city of Denver. The ruins have held up well after 1,000 years. Library books are dusty but readable, and a flight simulator still works, although where it gets the electricity is a mystery. The hero, named Johnny Goodboy Tyler, which I'll tell you something, played by Barry Popper, as a smart human who gets smarter thanks to a cyclo gizmo that zaps his eyeballs with knowledge. He learns Euclidean geometry and how to fly a jet and proves to be a quick learner for a caveman. The villains are two cyclos named Turl, John Travolta, and Kerr, Forrest Whitaker. I wonder if they got the Kerr from the end of Whitaker. Anyway, Turl is the head of security for the cyclos and has a secret scheme to use the humans as slaves to mine gold for him. Because, of course, throughout the universe, gold is, I guess, a currency. He can't be
the most precious commodity.
That's
Yes.
right.
They say that.
He can't be reported to his superiors because, I am not making this up, he can blackmail his enemies with secret recordings that in the event of his death, quote, would go straight to the Home Office. Yes, they really do use that. And he says, Letterman's fans laugh at that line. Did the filmmakers know it was funny? Johnny Goodboy figures out a way to avoid slave labor in the gold mines. He and his men simply go to Fort Knox, break in, and steal the gold. Of course, it's been waiting there for 1,000 years. What Turl says when his slaves hand him smelted bars of gold is beyond explanation. For stunning displays of stupidity, Turl takes the cake as chief of security for the conquering aliens. He doesn't even know what humans eat and devises an experiment. Let it think it has escaped. We can sit back and watch it choose its food. Bad luck for the starving humans, they capture a rat. An experiment like that, you pray for a chicken. Hiring Travolta and Whitaker was a waste of money since we can't recognize them behind pounds of matted hair and gnarly makeup. Their costumes look like they were purchased from the Goodwill store on the planet Tatooine. Travolta can be charming, funny, touching, and brave in his best roles. Why disguise him as a smelly alien creep? The Cyclos can fly between galaxies, but look at their nails. Their civilization has mastered hyperdrive, but not the manicure. I am not against unclean characters on principle, at least now that the threat of smell-o-vision no longer hangs over our heads. Lots of great movies have squalid heroes, but when the characters seem noxious on principle, we wonder if the art and costume departments were allowed to run wild. And then they go into the whole Scientology. Well, there, he's only got 2 more paragraphs. Battlefield Earth was written in yeah.
I would like to point out how this script has had over 10 revisions. So this beautiful script we were presented with took a long time coming.
Oh,
and
well,
it turned out fantastic.
Man, that's twice as many times as Big Bob watches a Disney movie.
There you go.
Anyway, Battlefield Earth was written in 1980 by L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. The film contains no evidence of Scientology or any other system of thought. It is shapeless and senseless, without a compelling plot or characters we care about in the slightest. The director, Roger Christian, has learned from better films that directors sometimes tilt their cameras, but he has not learned why. I love that one. Some movies run off the rails. This one is like the train crash in The Fugitive. I watched it in mounting gloom, realizing I was witnessing something historic. A film that for decades to come will be the punchline of jokes about bad movies. There's a moment here when the Cyclo's entire planet, home office and all, is blown to smithereens without the slightest impact on any member of the audience or, for that matter, the cast. If the film had been destroyed in a similar cataclysm, there might have been a standing ovation.
And that is all 100% accurate and true.
Yes.
But while we talk about this and while we're going into our discussion, I want the panel and maybe the audience to keep in mind, did you enjoy this more than The Acolyte? And was this better than The Acolyte?
Well, that's a good place to go, Hangry, is what have you seen that is worse than this? That's what it sounds like you guys need to do, is figure out what have you seen that made you suffer more?
Believe it or not, there's actually a lot. I will take this.
You're a masochist, Nolan, a masochist.
Hey, I got out of Strangers Chapter 1 this year, so about anything looks like Lord of the Rings next to that. So I'll take this movie.
Have any of you seen Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked Plan 9 better than this.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Because Plan 9 is at least charming.
It's intended to be. This was intended to be 2 hours.
But I will say this. When I rewatched it to watch it with you, or to comment with you guys, I watched it with riff tracks, and you'd have to be rat-brained to not do that.
Oh, that's a good point. Should have done that. Darn it. But no, it
Usually
was...
a sucker. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, no, please.
No. I'm just saying, I'm usually a sucker for cheesy sci-fi with really dumb plots, but even for me, this was just bad. Like, you have no connection to these characters. The first half just kind of feels like a slog because you're just kind of basically watching the aliens enslave the humans, and when the humans are doing things to overthrow them, it's really rock stupid. And then, so the first half of the movie, I felt like this was one of the most painful things I've ever seen in my life. Second half, it just becomes forgettable sci-fi type stuff. I mean, there's some cool effects. If there's one thing I'll defend this movie, the effects are pretty good for the time. I will give that. But the plot just destroys everything. Like, it doesn't matter if the whole thing makes about as much sense as a episode of The Acolyte.
So this is a movie based on the writings of Hubbard, right?
Yes.
Right.
So this movie is intended then to be taken very, very seriously. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
This movie this movie should have been the launching point for, I would say, the entire Hubbard legacy into the mainstream, and it just fell flat on its face.
Was it
Rather
supposed
like
to be
Hubbard's
serious
writings.
though? Because this seems to
Yeah.
make much sense as The Office in space. Because it seemed like they were trying to go tongue in cheek with the aliens. Like, were they trying to make that serious?
So
This is not good. This is not good that you can't tell if it's funny or not.
No, see,
That's-
I think
That's the worst territory to be in if you're a movie.
No, since I'm the official Hollywood expert, let me explain what's going on here.
oh, please.
Lots of people, actors of big fame like these and of no name at all, are looking for a job. And they're looking for the job that will somehow propel them to better things. That can be a bad movie. They can be the one good thing in a bad movie, which is what I'm sure all of these people thought they would be. I have to say that that's a thankless task, and I'll give you the example. I thought the one person who was really good in this, well, I'll say two, but the main one was Forrest Whitaker, who found the humor in it and found some fun in it. And in a, if life hands you a lemon, make lemonade thing. So you go to his page on Wikipedia. It talks about how brilliant it is. It talks about his experience. It talks about his history. And then you go from, let's see, it was an episode of The Shield that he was in, and he received rave reviews for his performance. Variety called it, quote, a cracking good guest stint. And he reprised the role in the show's 2007 season. Whitaker next appeared in what has been called one of the worst films ever made. You see what I mean? There ain't no winning in these situations. You can be great. You can be wonderful. You can be acclaimed and admired. And the film was widely criticized as a notorious commercial and critical disaster. However, Whitaker's performance was lauded by the film's director, Roger Christian, who commented that everybody's going to be very surprised by Whitaker, who, quote, found this huge voice and laughed. Battlefield Earth won 7 Razzie Awards. Whitaker later expressed his regret for participating in the film. So you can be a great actor and take a stinker of a part because, hey, it'll be fun. No,
That's a good point. Didn't Michael Caine not show up to win his Oscar for, I think, Hannah and Her Sisters because he was filming Jaws 3D?
Well, there you go.
And
there you go.
I think, didn't Halle Berry win an Oscar and then go do Catwoman?
Yeah.
Well,
And then you have the movie that is Zardos with Sean Connery.
Oh, Zardoz is pretty good, I think. But it's, it is what it is. And when the whole movie, the gimmick is the twist on the title, it gets old quick. There's nothing else there.
well,
But the thing that bugged me about this most is Travolta can be really, really good. And he has played the kind of part this should have been in that movie. God, what's it called? One with the stealth bomber and he steals the atomic bomb.
Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow, yes. This kind of arch, funny, deadly, nasty bad guy. He's good at that, but not in this movie. Not to mention anybody, you hire actors to some degree, famous actors like these, because people will recognize them and say, oh, I like him. I'll go see his movie. But when you put all of this extra makeup nonsense on them, they might as well be a nobody because either way, they're of no benefit to your movie. I don't think.
it's not just makeup though, because beyond that, and I found a photo of it. They had all of these folks in stilts. It was amazing. It
looked cheap.
Well, what about those stupid pantaloons?
Leather jodhpurs or something like that?
I guess, but they look like they're inflated. They look like who's that fashion designer that does Thierry Mugler? Or
Maybe.
Yeah. It's like
it was so clear that so basically the alien cyclos. And here, I'm gonna preface this by saying that after seeing this movie, I left just in a daze and I was staggered by it. And it bothered me so much that I went and I read the book. I read the actual Battlefield Earth book after this. And it actually helped to clarify a lot of things. The book, I don't know, Martin, have you read the book out of curiosity?
No, I haven't read that.
So the book, you can see what they were trying to do with this film. you can see that, in fact, it was a bit of biting, sarcastic commentary on our corporate culture. That sort of that humor around that Turl and Forrest Whitaker show, the sort of the office-like dialogue almost, like that's in the book too. And I can't tell you how often they use the word leverage in the book. It's been a couple of years since I've read it, but it was just, that was the entire premise. And the events of this movie only comprise half of that book. The other half occurs after they've blown up the cyclohome planet and what comes next. And just so to where I'm going with this, though, is that there were quite a lot of liberties taken with this movie. And this is what the cyclos, as described in the book, originally were supposed to look like.
That's way cooler.
That's Chewbacca in bondage gear.
Basically.
it's
wow.
It's Chewbacca meets Travolta's other kinky classic.
What's he doing? Is he inhaling stomach juices?
Yep. It's the best type of juice to inhale, Lorn.
Definitely like
How would that bar scene play out then if they have that mask on? Do they like put the hose in the drink and like suck it up like a giant
No.
when you're under the dome.
Yeah,
You don't need the breathing apparatus.
Okay.
Exactly. So that's their exosuit, so to speak.
Well, they told the illustrator, we haven't invented these nose clips yet because we're not trying to reveal the fact that John Travolta's in the movie, so you'll have to come up with something else. And then that cover, my God. It's like, you know all those good Edgar Rice Burroughs things that Frazetta did? Make a bad one. Make a bad one.
Like, can you even hold a gun that way with your arm in that pose like that?
If you want to break your wrist, but if it has a kick, I don't know if they're. What I think is funny are these flippity floppity holsters.
Oh, that's true.
But
I don't think
with all respect to your but with all respect to your dedication to duty,
thank you.
If I have to read a book to understand this movie, that was a big mistake. I mean, you don't have to read the book to understand Gone with the Wind. You don't have to read the book to. God.
Please be aware. At no point am I ever defending this film.
No. You're just making.
We can bring that point back.
You brought more people into the theater now than Travolta did then.
Okay, so you've read the book. I have a pressing question I've been wondering.
Yes.
Did they explain in the book, if you could remember, why the villain, John Travolta's character, why does he stack gold on like the corpse of was it an ancestor or that, like the gold blocks he got?
No, it was one of the security people that got killed earlier.
That's how he was going to smuggle it out.
Yeah.
Right. So on top of the body, not underneath it.
Yeah.
Because when the Cyclo Customs guy opened it up and say, "Oh, too bad he died. What's all this stuff? Gold? Never mind. Go on through."
And wasn't it the method
that
they
makes
used
sense.
in American Gangster to smuggle drugs out of Vietnam?
Oh.
So this film is it has some really cool experimental, because I know we were making fun of the angle thing earlier. I do think this film has some really cool colors and shots, and like that scene when early in the movie when he's being chased and there's like the green color filter and they're like shattering through the glass going through that. I think there's a really cool shots of this movie. But overall, the editing is one of the most lackluster I think I've seen in a movie as far as a sci-fi movie goes, because I feel like with some better editing, this could have been a more decent movie, because the pacing in this is just so, it's like you can't follow anything because it's just snapping around too much.
Well, Nolan, sorry, I was just gonna correct you. When the part you're referring to is when Johnny's being chased by the Cyclos for the first time, and he goes through a pane of glass, and another glass, and another pane of glass, and another pane of glass. And so he should be like a lacerated pile of blood on the floor after all of this.
Common sense went out the window the moment the movie started up. This film has no logic at all. Like, he looks into something and then he knows everything. Like, it's the Phenomenon movie, and except that did it way, way better.
The cinematographer has a little thing, quote here, not quote, IMDb's page of trivia has a little something from the cinematographer. He said that the overuse of color filters and Dutch angles wasn't his idea, and that he was given the smallest lighting budget he had ever worked with.
And I don't mind the color filters. I'm probably the odd man out here. I think it was kind of neat to see things a little bit different. But when it's just constantly switching between characters, instead of enjoying and immersed in the movie, I'm just distracted by what the heck am I watching here?
Did you ever see Hunt for Red October?
Yes.
Which movie?
All right, Hunt for Red October.
No.
Oh, yes.
Each of those submarines has a different color scheme. So the Russian sub is red, the American sub is yellowish, and the second Russian sub that comes in the third act is green.
Yeah.
The color scheme was chosen to keep everything visually
To keep the audience knowing which one you were on, because they all look more or less the same because it's the same era of technology.
exactly.
Yeah.
The color here was not helpful in that way.
Well, I mean,
They didn't have much to work with.
people who did that color scheme thing so well and so logically was, original Star Trek. I mean, if you were wearing red, you were going to die before the end of the episode unless you got it. So anyway, look, guys, my point in saying the book doesn't matter is that it doesn't, and that this thing is so the parts of it that are not confused are so cliche that we've seen them done better 10 times before. I personally thought Whitaker was good. I thought Travolta was chewing the scenery as usual when he's not really invested in something other than for his religious or political beliefs, which, he's entitled. The other person who was good, I thought, was the bartender was really good. And the guy, I forget, the Johnny Boy's buddy, the one who's waiting to blow up the dome at the end.
Oh, Kim Coates.
Yeah, he was pretty good. But the rest of this, it was your kids playing cavemen on Halloween.
Yeah.
Complete with monkey noises.
Pretty accurate.
All right. I guys, I'm sorry. We're 20 minutes in and Lorn hasn't said a word. I'm a little nervous now.
So I remembered from back when this movie came out that it was roundly panned. They talked about it an awful lot on the late night talk show circuit because it was such a giant bomb. And it was kind of a passion project for Travolta. And I knew this movie was going to be bad. I've deliberately avoided it for decades now. But it ended up being bad in a way I didn't expect. It was not bad in the way that I thought it was going to be bad. Oh. There's actually things in the movie that I can see what they were trying to do. There's kind of a message in there that, for one thing, knowledge is good. You should pay attention to learning. And so, as Lou said, stock cliche kind of messages. But it felt to me so amateurish. It felt like a high school production of something that was probably better that somehow got made into a TV movie. To me, this felt like a TV movie, not like a cinematic movie, and not very well produced, not very well executed. But I could kind of see what I think they hoped they were making. They did not succeed in any conceivable way. I don't think anybody probably advanced their careers noticeably. I don't think anybody was probably entertained. I suspect theater owners were probably upset. Any investors probably talked to their lawyers, and I don't think watch or buy this movie. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So there's that.
Ooh, all right.
So here's the question then.
That's a glowing endorsement.
We should make a movie poster.
What do you think about this movie worked, Lorn? That's a deep pause. I've asked you an unanswerable question. My bad.
We'll be back in 10 minutes.
Get that Jeopardy song going.
Well, okay, in a cheesy kind of way, when they were showing the Cyclo home planet, I got vibes of like 50s era sci-fi. It's the only thing you didn't get was the dun dun dun. That was kind of fun, but that's probably about it. I'd say the wide establishing shot of the Cyclo homeworld it was okay.
It made it a little bit better. Just a bit. Just a bit.
Oh, I found another one. It says here, this is some guy, Den of Geek, Ryan Lemby. And this thing opened in 3,000 screens.
Wow.
Oh.
And was so bad that it closed in 3005.
Yes. No, it says 1 million monkeys with 1 million crayons would be hard-pressed in 1 million years to create anything as cretinous as Battlefield Earth, said the Washington Post. Jon Stewart on The Daily Show said, quote, a cross between Star Wars and the smell of ass.
So speaking of Star Wars, the guy that directed this actually was like the second unit director for The Phantom Menace. And I don't know if it was George Lucas who gave Travolta or whoever the, hey, you should look into this guy or what, but... No.
There's a deeper connection here. This I mentioned this.
Now you're getting into dangerous territory.
Don't do it.
Now.
I had to.
Look.
Roger Christian, the inventor of the lightsaber, the father of the lightsaber.
That's right.
No, he's the designer of the prop. He's not the inventor of the lightsaber.
Right. Okay.
Apologies.
By the way, to say that Travolta's dedication to Hubbard ran away with him, he unwisely described the script as, quote, are you ready? This should get you more angry than the lightsaber thing, Lorn, and every decent human being. The Schindler's List of science fiction.
Oh, no.
He actually said that.
Wow.
And the finance company for this thing, Franchise Pictures, was a guy who made his fortune from a dry cleaning chain in an LA nightclub.
See, I would have thought that the Scientologists would have been the ones who had financed this, but I guess
well, if you look into it, apparently, what's his name? The name ain't coming to me right now, but apparently, it was Scientology leader. Now this is from a statement here. There's a lot of back and forth on this, but a lot of things are pointing to that they were a lot more involved than what we know. According to Marty Rathbone, he said that Scientology leader David Miscavige, I don't know how to say it. Thank you. That he micromanaged the film adaptation of the book, and after the movie came out. So he was basically, from his perspective, he was saying basically constantly like, hey guys, how about this movie? It's going great. It's awesome. It's great for us. And then after the movie came out, he basically threw John Travolta under the bus. It's like, nope, we didn't do that. Didn't happen. Wasn't us.
I heard a rumor at one point that this kind of took care of John Travolta's church contributions for a while.
Well, I think what it was that he, as they say, deferred his salary to make the picture.
Yeah.
When it ran over. Yeah.
I think I remember reading that Travolta had wanted to get this movie made for a while, and the studios didn't want to do it because they considered him at the time box office poison. It seems to me that this movie probably didn't do anything to help that image at all.
Well, they said, I mean, when I was looking up,
Oh, they're talking about why this is such a terrible picture. And they're saying, first of all, it features some of the stupidest aliens in cinema.
Agreed.
They say they have total contempt for Earthlings, but everywhere all around them are all these remnants of Earth culture that obviously was successful at one point. And they are looking for this gold thing that they want so bad. And they've occupied the planet for 1,000 years, but they never found Fort Knox.
These guys make the Ferengis look confident.
Here's another reason why I think that the movie fails, and that's that there's several scenes, several of them, where it's just cyclos talking to other cyclos and screwing each other over just to show how evil they are.
Yes.
And there are many, many conversations that are almost carbon copies of each other, just to establish, guys, these guys are really dicks. You shouldn't like these people.
Yes, and here's this guy's description of that, which is wonderful. He says, the cyclos aren't just stupid, selfish, and ungainly. They also behave like a group of unemployed Shakespearean actors after 2 bottles of sherry.
This film is trying so hard to be like the Almost Got Him episode of Batman the Animated Series, if anyone here has seen that, where it's, all the villains at like a poker table and you get to see them having, kind of their normal problems and their bizarre villain lives. It's trying so hard to be quirky, but yet it comes off as super awkward and forced and not charming in the slightest.
Now I'm thinking we should have watched Almost Got Him and done that as a joint episode.
That would have been a better episode, yes.
Maybe.
Don't give many ideas.
Oh no, it's a genius episode. It's one of the best in cartoon history.
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Do you think this is when Kelly Preston and John Travolta decided that they were going to wed in matrimonial bliss?
Well,
Could this have been the impulse? Like
I don't want to say anything negative about her or him or their relationship, but I will say, if her tongue is really like that.
Good night, everybody.
This is when the show gets a little blue.
Who knew that Kelly Preston was related to Gene Simmons?
Yeah.
You said that with such a straight face, Lorn.
Oh, get this simile, this guy comparison. Turl is science fiction's Basil Fawlty, and Kerr is his Manuel.
Okay.
That kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I will say, so just to set the stage again for the members who are watching and the folks at T3PO, this is supposed to take place 1,000 years after the Cyclos invaded planet Earth, and they invaded and they conquered the planet Earth in 9 minutes. So that is also true to the book. It set it off as being the Cyclos are just this unstoppable force that completely steamrolled us. And 1,000 years later, it's up to Johnny Goodboy Tyler to, through the leveraging of Turl's greed and cupidity, gaining access to long lost knowledge, rallying his people, and fighting back and eventually blowing up their home planet. Now, in the book, they did not fly Harrier jets 1,000 years later. They did not meet, how do I put this? Other tribal humans who kind of looked like they'd stepped off the set of Braveheart, who were using flight simulators that were dubiously powered by electricity to learn how to fly these Harrier jets with their missiles and whatnot. So, and I'm 99% sure that the Fort Knox thing never happened. So there was definitely some pretty bonkers rewrites in this, because again, in the book, they were using the Cyclos' own weapons, their ships, their guns, and all of that against them. And they don't also explain very well how the Cyclos conquered the Earth in 9 minutes. The way that they did that was they basically launched a ton of gas drones, which blanketed the planet in this poisonous gas. And that's basically what wiped out almost all of humanity, essentially. So it wasn't the case necessarily that they were so vastly technologically superior to the humans. They just caught them off. They caught us off guard, essentially, was how it goes.
So they
This
did
film
like
was
the
like
sneaky
watching the
Germans.
fifth movie in a sci-fi series where things start getting really ridiculous, but instead of being the fifth movie, it's the first movie. That probably would have been a more entertaining movie, what you just summarized.
It's kind of an important plot point to mention that they can't breathe Earth's native atmosphere, and their own native atmosphere is highly explosive. And that's a plot point for the end point of the movie when they destroy their entire planet by transporting a nuke there and setting it off.
In the presence of radiation, yes.
Yes, and that's also an issue. That's part of why they wanted to use these man-animals, which they keep calling them, to mine this gold, because otherwise they'd have to bring in their own teams and pay them. And they don't want to pay them. So they're just, the typical corporate dicks who want to just use slave labor to do it. And so, like all of these type of villains, they decide to use these stupid man animals who can't possibly learn anything, and we'll educate them. We'll teach them everything about our history, our knowledge, our technology, and that can't possibly go wrong.
We should have watched Manimal.
Yeah,
That'll be next.
All the people who worked on this, by the way, of course, made excuses. The cinematographer, when asked why the picture was so dark, he said, this is the fewest number of lights I've ever been given in a budget. And they asked him, how come? And they spent a lot of money. He said, well, let's just put it this way. When you have so much going to above the line, there isn't a lot left for the actual production. And the writer, Travolta wanted to change everything because he didn't think it was, I guess, L. Ron Hubbardy enough. And so the result, when Shapiro, the writer, the first writer, cleaned up at the Razzies for his terrible script, he published a formal apology in the New York Post. He said, my screenplay was darker, grittier, and had a very compelling story with rich characters. What my screenplay didn't have was slow motion at every turn, Dutch tilts, campy dialogue, aliens in kiss boots, and everyone wearing Bob Marley wigs.
So what you're saying is we need the writer's cut of this movie, is what you're saying. We need to see this
I
movie
guess,
again.
but I don't know if they ever even shot all of his because he got fired in the middle of it someplace. Anyway, not everybody hated it. The website Joe Blow and the San Francisco Chronicle liked it, and so did George Lucas and Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, no.
And Tarantino was actually offered to direct this, and he declined it.
But
Random
that was the
fun
first
fact
smart
there.
thing he did, yeah.
Probably the smartest move of his career.
And he talked about Tarantino. He says, Travolta and I took it to the ranch, and we showed George and 300 of the ILM people, and they loved it. Tarantino came to the premiere, sat with me, and he hugged me afterwards and said, this is what I want to write. This is amazing stuff.
I am skeptical. I am dubious. I do not know this.
There's such a thing as being professionally polite, and I suspect that probably covers a lot of that.
Well, as we saw...
After Quentin Tarantino gave Roger Christian a hug, he said, quote, you're going to be killed, all of you, but I just love this film. Wait, 10, 12 years, it'll come around. Forget now, you're going to go through hell. Well, he got that right.
Did it ever come around, though?
Well,
George Lucas thought that Howard the Duck would come around and be a very successful movie.
Yeah, good comparison. But they say that the website for the film is still up.
Oh,
wait, really? It's like
That's
the
what it
Space Jam
says.
website?
I guess.
all right. That out.
Who would keep paying for the domain name?
I don't know.
Dianetics.
Travolta?
The battle.
You know what? Someone's doing his work.
Now wait, this is the rest of that apology from the writer. Now, looking back at the movie with fresh eyes, I can't help but be strangely proud of it, because out of all the sucky movies, mine is the suckiest.
I respect that. I really respect
silver linings.
It won the best, or it won the Golden Razzie of the decade for the 2000 to 2010.
Okay,
That's
so
impressive because some stinkers came out in that time.
yeah. So
Crossroads came out in that time.
there is a Battlefield Earth website, and I'm on there right now, but there is no mention of the movie. You can obviously see.
Well, but it may be that it's Battlefield Earth movie or something else,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to search for this a little bit, but it looks
looks way better.
It looks like they've almost decided to film a new, or at least they have promotional shots, because I have no idea who this dour-faced gentleman is.
They should. How about we start remaking the bad movies instead of the good movies? Those are the ones that need the attention.
I wrote exactly an article like that for That Park Place about a year ago.
Ooh, I'll give that a read.
It would at least be a place to get some of these people to hone their craft a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good place to get started. Yeah.
Well, at least a remake of this, as opposed to other remakes of bad movies, when the people who did it said, well, we wanted to make it better, it wouldn't be much of a reach. It would not be much of a reach. On Rotten Tomatoes, somebody said this film is beyond redemption.
Well, what I found kind of surprising about this film, again, knowing the history, knowing the connection to Scientology, and so on and so forth, is that there really isn't, as you rightly pointed out, any connection, any sort of subversive, hidden Scientological messaging in here, as far as I can see, or that at least people have said. It's just supposed to be, I guess, L. Ron Hubbard's version of Star Wars. And he was a semi-prolific sci-fi writer before he decided to, or he was inspired to write a
he wrote a lot of books. That doesn't mean he made a lot of money. He was looking for a big chance.
That's what I meant by semi-prolific.
To say, I want you to make it like Star Wars was saying, it made money. Maybe I can too. Yeah. And I got to tell you, if there's anything about this movie that gave me an emotional reaction more than just humor, I kind of resent the characterization of what is clearly trying to be capitalism in the Cyclos. That whole thing of gold and the home office and all the rest of it was trying to say, oh, you evil capitalists, shame on you for wanting a profit. And by the way, buy my book and the 17 sequels.
But you know what? Since it's also their government that makes it fascism and not free market American capitalism.
Oh, well, I don't know.
That's right. Because
is this film that discriminating one way or the other? I don't think so.
It is not. No.
In the film, the corporation is the one that basically is the government. It runs the entire planet. And this entire galactic empire, which the Cyclos have basically just steamrolled and created. There was one point in this film when they put Johnny in the mind learning machine, and you do see this other kind of alien looking creature kind of come out and say, you know, I don't want to, please forgive me for
right
humbly like teaching you and so on and so forth. And so again, the backstory there is that the Cyclos have wiped out so many races and incorporated so many races into their empire. So the revolt, the pushback on Earth, that's supposed to be an even bigger deal because no one's really ever done that before or successfully.
And it makes you wonder how these people who have no real imaginations or innovation of their own, they just take over other people. How did they get so strong in the first place?
People letting it happen.
Well, yeah. But I mean, well, look, we're trying to put meaning and logic on something that has none. It was like, hey, spaceships and explosions and stuff are popular, and evil aliens are like making money. So let's us make one.
Did you know that L. Ron Hubbard composed a soundtrack to go with the book?
I did not know that.
It is called Space Jazz.
Ooh. Maybe
I'm sure it's just as good.
We should listen to that.
No.
All right, guys. Next episode.
No, you guys have cover. You're lost. This is a genre unto itself. We don't have to watch another one.
That's true. That's true.
The entire album's on YouTube.
So
let me guess. It's called Vacation on Cyclos Radio.
So Martin, I'm curious, as the only other person here who's watched this film prior to tonight, how has it changed, or how have your opinions of it changed in between the time when you first saw it and when you've watched it again?
Did it make you into a man, Martin?
Based on the slew of entertainment that we've been getting in the last couple of years, especially.
No, I watched it the first time, didn't think it was very good. It was one of those things. I like to watch old B movies, and I thought this looks like it's going to be awful. Maybe it's the modern equivalent of an old B movie. It wasn't. It was just bad.
So it was disappointing on the terms on which you expected to encounter it.
Yeah, but like, okay, so I wouldn't watch Snakes on a Plane because I thought this is going to be so bad, it's going to be wonderful. But it was actually too good to be that bad, but it wasn't good enough to be good.
Enough is enough.
This was like not even, it's just, you walk away with nothing but a hollow feeling of disappointment.
Well,
credulity, I believe, is the word.
But yeah, disappointment implies you were hoping for something better. And I don't think, well, look, let's put it this way. Did you guys, I forget, you saw it in the theaters or later as a video?
I think I went to a Blockbuster video.
Yeah, okay. I didn't see this in the theaters. I saw this.
But that's what I was going to say is nobody did.
Yeah.
So if you had, I would really want to know, in spite of the instant derision in every review and every discussion of it, I mean, I could see saying, well, if it's that bad, it's probably funny. I'll go see it on a dare. if it was a midnight movie, you know, that played on the weeks when they didn't show all those midnight movies, you know, Rocky Horror, say.
Mhm.
Hey, there you go. Some theater should put this on once a week at midnight, and everybody will dress up like this.
Well,
You know,
So-
like people that go to Rocky Horror and sing along with the songs.
everyone dresses up like a cyclo.
No, they go out and it's urban renewal. They go out and they pull all the bums off the streets in Skid Row and have them show up as the characters. I think
People
that-
could throw rubber rats at the screen or something.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Rubber rats.
Well, on that note,
Dinner and a movie.
this thing had a budget of 73 million and it had a box office return of 29.7 million.
Yeah, but they say nobody really spent that. In fact, the people that said they spent 79 million were involved in a fraud case because they lied to their investors.
Oh,
They kind of did the producers thing of raising the money 4, 5, 6 times.
I'm also very disappointed to say that this movie filmed in Canada. So that
Well, of course it did.
That might explain why Johnny's girlfriend has a French Canadian accent.
Yes.
yeah, and she was actually in her name was Sabine Carcenti, I believe, and she was in this. And the reason why I recognized her was because she was in this TV version of The Crow, which was just as abysmal as you might
Remember that?
as you might have thought. And that might actually be something for the Lost Guys to cover because that TV show was just wild.
Was that filmed in Toronto as well?
I am not. It was filmed somewhere in Canada. I'm not exactly sure where, but
An undisclosed Canadian location.
Canadian vibe. Yeah. Well, guys, this time has flown by. We're already at almost 50 minutes because we've just had such a great time talking about this
Which
film.
is more serious attention than this film has ever generated in the last 20 years. So,
And so what we usually like to do for the benefit of Nolan and Martin is to kind of just give one thing that we liked about the movie, one thing that we disliked about it. And I'm going to start with Lorn on this.
The only thing that I can think of that I liked per se is that establishing shot of the Cyclo homeworld that I told you about. I don't know that I disliked this movie enough to even say that I disliked it. It's just there comes a point at which you're watching the movie. It's for me, it was about halfway through when I realized all of these cavemen are sweaty and yet handsome and make-upped, you know, and also they're flying fighter jets. And at that point, you just kind of go, all right, I'm not even going to try and make sense of this because it is what it is. This is children playing with action figure toys and making up a plot as they go along. And that's all it is. It's ridiculous, but it was made by children. So that's what I got out of it.
All right. Lou?
that. Me? I think Forrest Whitaker had a lot of fun, even if he had to disavow it later. So that was okay. I enjoyed watching him play with this whole idea, although they gave him nothing to do endlessly, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
He hit the note right on the note, but then he had to just keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it because that was all there was. I'll tell you the best thing about this movie. None of us has to watch it ever again.
Oh,
Yes. I'll be on my deathbed. I won't have to think about this movie and I'll be happy.
Lorn, on that note, do you think
No. You'd be happy if you were dying in the theater and didn't have to watch it to the end.
Fair point. But Lorn, do you think
Right.
the movie was served as sort of the inspiration for Forrest Whitaker to play Saw Gerrera?
I actually did think about that a little bit as I was watching the movie, and there are notes of that character in there, but they're kind of smaller. You know, Saw is paranoid. That's his chief attribute. Kerr was not paranoid enough. He
was too stupid to be paranoid.
Yeah.
How many times does Travolta have to shiv him before he realizes it's liable to happen again?
But like you said, he was kind of good-natured and having fun while he was doing it. So, you know, I agree with you. I think Whitaker, I think, knew what this was going to be and just decided to have fun. I think that the appealing part of his performance was not necessarily the performance of the script or the movie. It was just the fact that he was having a good time with it because why not? This is ridiculous.
He is the epitome in an acting sense in this movie of when life hands you a lemon, make lemonade.
Yep.
All right.
That doesn't mean any of you out there should watch it just to see that performance.
Martin, how about
It's
you?
good, but it's not that good.
I think the costumes are awful. The giant feet just made the whole thing look cheap, and Travolta's hands sometimes had 6 fingers, sometimes had 5 fingers, things like that. But good points. Like I said, I watched it with riff tracks, so I had a blast. Yeah, other than that, I'm going to go watch Barry Pepper in 61 playing Roger Maris. Good flick.
Yes, yes.
Nolan?
Well, to make a comment real quick on Lauren's thoughts about this, how it's kids playing with toys, I think the kids did a bit better because at least the kids would randomly have Spider-Man show up or something like that. Like, I think that would be a little more entertaining. But no, I don't think it was an awful movie. But at the end of the day, I just think it more as like a forgettable sci-fi film. Like, I think I will go to bat and say I think the effects are fantastic. And I think what kills this movie is an awful, awful script and awful editing. And granted, I don't know how much of the blame is the editor or it goes to, you know, the director, what the editor had to work with. And I think the thing that truly set this film in infamy is just how spectacular of a disaster it was. And I think the biggest reason for that is the costumes on the villains. Like, I think part of what killed this movie is the costumes. They look ridiculous. They look hokey. And they're like cheesy sci-fi in all the wrong areas. If this was maybe a bit different to where, you know, the costumes were more generic and didn't look like bootleg Klingons, I think it would have just become a bit more obscure to history. But awful script, some of the worst costumes you'll ever see, unfortunately take away from great effects and cool lighting tricks. And unfortunately, this is an embarrassment to pretty much everyone involved. But you know what? It's one of those where it's hokey, and if I had to see it again, I could just make fun of it the whole time. I'll take that over some films I've seen, like, say, like, that was a TV show, but take like The Acolyte, if we're talking about recently here, where I just watch it and I just feel like I'm watching propaganda. This, it's just stupid.
I want to push back on this just a little bit because I agree with you. The costumes, the wardrobe, the makeup of the prosthetics, the character designs, they're awful. But if the story and the acting were good, an audience is very forgiving. I want you to do a thought experiment for a minute and imagine that instead of John Travolta playing the head Cyclo character, imagine you had somebody like Gary Oldman doing it. If Gary Oldman was under all of that getup, but he delivered a Gary Oldman performance, I think people would have bought it.
I will point out
on that
is particularly poignant coming from Lorn, who's on the record as absolutely hating The Fifth Element, in which Gary Oldman with a silly haircut and strange clothes is great. So, you know, that's interesting to me that you picked him of all the people you could have picked.
I was actually thinking of The Fifth Element as I was watching this movie because for me, it suffers from a lot of the same problems.
On the other hand, this is Citizen Kane by comparison, or Fifth Element is, not this.
I was like, whoa.
I'm curious what you guys are going to lose next.
Oh, our minds after this movie.
Oh, we've got a lot of ideas out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I just want to reassure the genre guys audience that we have a wonderful, lovely, beautiful, expert, super duper movie next time.
Yes.
So we're not in a rut.
Battlefield
as hard as our table over there has tried to push.
Some people say it's the best movie of all time. I don't say that myself. I hear other people say that.
Well, on that note, I will say, at least in my case, one of the things that I liked in this film, and I liked his performance, and I just thought it was so silly and campy and funny, was the actor who played the planet ship, who was this old administrator. His name is Sean Austin Olsen, and I loved his lines about how, you know, have you blown a head gasket? I'm going to be vaporized. That just gave me a chuckle. The rest of the film was a disaster.
That's the kind of line that stood out as being totally irrelevant to anything in this movie, except these people that they spend all their time. I mean, what's a head gasket on Cyclos? You know, it's suddenly we've gone from, we have to have him say something. How about that? Well, it's irrelevant. Yeah, but people will know what it means.
It's a piece of cake, Laura. It's a piece of cake, Lou. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah,
it's
right.
A piece of cake.
Piece of pie, as we discovered in our previous science fiction voyages.
Well, anyway, thank you guys for indulging me on this. I've been chasing after you for a while for this film, so mea culpa. But I hope it was at least somewhat entertaining for everyone to watch. And if you, as the audience members, have seen this film, please drop us a link down below. Is this the worst film of all time? Did it deserve all of those Razzies? Why did it not kill John Travolta's career? Leave us your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your staggering incredulity.
Unless you're too embarrassed to say that you ever watched this, it's okay. We understand.
True. Yes, this is a no judgment. This is a safe space.
This is a place of healing.
This is a place of healing, exactly.
What
and
did
on that
this film do to
This
you?
was a place of carnage.
Happy, joy.
Catharsis through suffering, Lorn.
By the way, in other news, even though it's off topic, I feel I must share some news with you all. Earlier today, I was doing a different stream, and during it, a commenter, because it was about the recent craziness at Disney, told us that today, when they were writing on one of the few moments in the day when it was running, Mama Odie's animatronic had fallen off its perch and was lying face down, floating in the water.
Oh no.
And then they stopped the ride and got everybody off. And then they put it back up on the ledge without any animation happening, just to get the ride open again. So this may be one of the worst movies ever made, but it's nice to know as mankind progresses into the future, we surpass our mistakes every damn day. So, but that actually happened today. Can you imagine?
Wow, Mama Odie got whacked.
Yeah.
Battlefield Earth. It's better than Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
You know what? That's that. I think that's a pretty good selling point. Well, on that note, guys, I want to thank you all. Especially, I want to thank you, Nolan and Martin, for coming on today to film this, which is different from our usual time. And
it's an honor to be here. The genre guys are amazing. It's a wonderful panel we have here, and it's always an honor.
And I would love to hear the feedback from the members and the audience. Do you guys want to have some more super spectacular crossovers? If you do, please let us know.
Yeah.
On that note, we will get lost and go genre. How's that for an outro? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm always doing this. I'm sorry, but there is a lesson in this.
Oh, no.
As you know, or you should know, those of you watching this on the Pro channel as a member are getting this special, wonderful treat a couple of months ahead of the rest of the world. But in a couple of months, this will replay on the new channel. And so it's just like this movie. It won't go away.
No, we don't go away. Even if you try, we won't go away.
So now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
Exactly.
Half the battlefield Earth.
Or now you cyclo. And on that note, everyone have a wonderful day and night.
We're recycling. How environmental. All right, I'll stop.
We got to stop this. All right, talk to you later. Thank you again, and have a wonderful week ahead.
We hope you enjoyed that special presentation of The Genre Guys here on 23PO. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more content like it. And if you want to enjoy every episode of The Genre Guys as soon as they are released, be sure to become a member at WW Pro's YouTube channel. What were your thoughts on this amazing film? Let us know in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching. T3PO. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts Online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.